So I want to tell you about 3 types of houses that you absolutely do not want to buy in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Hey guys, Phil Duke Jr. here with First Class Real Estate Capstone and living in Tuscaloosa County. And I got some notes here I'm going to be referring to. And we're coming out of a crazy market the last couple years where almost every house that hit the market was selling and many were getting multiple offers and going for record high prices. And we saw some houses that maybe wouldn't have normally sold or maybe wouldn't have been quite as in demand that actually did sell. And so the last couple years has been a little bit of an anomaly, And now things have kind of cooled off. It's really not quite a full-on buyer's market. It's more of just a fair market right now. It's really a fair market for buyers just as much as it is a fair market for sellers right now. And so when I go through these 3, there's going to be some exceptions to the rule. There always are, but for the most part, if you stick to avoiding these 3 types of properties, you're going to be okay. And by the way, if you're also looking for some information on how to get a good deal in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, make sure you check out the video that I made about that as well. What I look for if I'm looking to find a good deal for somebody, I think you'll get a lot of value out of that video as well. And by the way, before we get into today's topic, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I'm told that helps us out in the YouTube world. I'm not exactly sure how that works. And also, if you are looking to actually move to Tuscaloosa and you've got questions, I would love to help you. I'm a real estate broker in the area. I run a real estate company, but I also still help buyers and sellers every single day. And I absolutely love talking to people who are looking to move here to my hometown that I love, that I spend a lot of time trying to give you guys information on. Feel free to reach out, okay? Would love to connect with you and love to help you if any way possible. Okay, property type number 1 that you want to try to avoid is the biggest and best in the neighborhood. Now, you might not have thought about this, and so here's the situation I want to share with you when it comes to this particular type of property. So think of a neighborhood. Think of a garden home neighborhood. Just think of that in your mind. My mom lives in a garden home neighborhood. She really loves it. She went from a historic home that was a lot of maintenance, a lot of upkeep, to now having a small yard, a modern home, very minimal amount of maintenance needing to be done. And think of these houses, let's just say that all of them, pretty much all the ones in her neighborhood are 3 bedrooms and 2 full baths. So cookie cutter as it gets. You look in the neighborhood, most of the houses look the same. The lots are about the same size. That is the definition of cookie cutter. So think of a cookie cutter. You're making cookies and you want to make, whether it's a star or a moon or a circle, whatever, you've got the little cookie cutter thing and you're just cutting these cookies out and all of them end up looking the same, right? So what happens sometimes in a neighborhood, like my mom's neighborhood, for example, is, somebody is okay with a 3-bedroom house when they first move in, but the family grows and all of a sudden they really need an extra bedroom, sometimes an extra bedroom and an extra bathroom, sometimes an extra bedroom and a living room. And so what happens is one of 2 things. They either enclose the garage and they turn the garage into an extra bedroom, an extra living room, or sometimes they will add an addition to the property. They'll either do it off the back of the house or the side of the house, or in some houses, they can actually go upstairs and add an upstairs room, above the garage or something like that. And so you've got this neighborhood full of 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes, and now all of a sudden there's a 4 or 5 bedroom home that has a lot more heated and cooled square footage than the rest of the neighborhood. Okay, it worked really good for that particular situation. It met the need that they needed to make that house work. The problem is when you have one house in the neighborhood that has more features and benefits than all the houses around it. The ones around it don't have 4 or 5 bedrooms and an extra 300 or 400 square feet. So what happens to that house is it suffers from a term called regression. It's a common term that we use in the real estate world, regression. The property value of that bigger house actually regresses. It goes down compared to or because of the smaller houses surrounding it that don't have those extra features and benefits. So you could end up spending $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 extra to make that house exactly the way you want it, the way that it works for you, but you may not get that extra $40 or $50 or $100,000 back when you go to sell, because people are concerned about having the big house in the neighborhood of smaller houses. So if you're looking for houses and you notice that as a feature, they enclosed the garage, they added on to it, I personally would try to avoid that house. It could work out for you. In some instances, it might. But I think what you would rather do is try to find the small house in the neighborhood full of bigger houses. So if every house in the neighborhood is 3,000 square feet and you've got the smallest one at 2,000 square feet, you will actually get the reverse of regression, which is progression. The smaller house actually goes up in value because it's surrounded by bigger homes. So that's one thing that I would very, very, very strongly caution you on when you're looking at houses. You want to find houses that have the similar benefits, similar features to those that are around it. So stay away from the biggest and best house in the neighborhood. You would actually rather have the smallest house in the neighborhood full of bigger houses. So that's number one. Property type number two is the ultra custom or the ultra unique. Okay, you might have seen this advertised before. Custom build. Custom built by such and such construction company. Now, again, there are exceptions to this rule, but in general, if it's too custom and if it's too unique, then it typically doesn't sell. And if you're looking to move to Tuscaloosa and you don't know how long you're going to be here, you need to buy a house that if you had to sell it in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, you need to have a house that you feel pretty confident is actually going to sell. So I would avoid the super custom and the super unique house. If people have, maybe it's something that you like the finishings they picked out, but maybe a lot of other people wouldn't. You've got to be really, really careful that you don't get stuck having the house that's super cool to some people, but a lot of people just wouldn't want those features and benefits. They wouldn't want those finishes. They wouldn't want those paint colors. So a couple things for you to think about when it comes to living in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Most of the houses here in the Tuscaloosa area are either brick siding or vinyl siding, or there's some combination of those two put together. Sometimes you'll see brick on the front and the other three sides of the house are vinyl siding, and that's done to save money. It costs a lot more money to have a full brick house, to get one built in today's world. So a full brick house is deemed more valuable than one that's vinyl siding or that has just brick on one side. Now you will see some that have, maybe hardy board or something like that. That's okay. But what you want to stay away from is things that are super unique and that are not normal for this area. Perfect example of this. If you go to Florida, if you go out west to Arizona, California, areas where it's a lot hotter than it is here, you'll see a lot of homes that have stucco siding or synthetic stucco siding. Now, that type of siding is actually really good if you do research on it. It's really good and it's very energy efficient. It insulates your house very, very well. That's why they do it out in the desert. That's why they do it in Florida, where it's super humid and it's super hot pretty much all year round. But in Tuscaloosa, we just don't have that many stucco houses. So, and here, there's actually been quite a bit of houses that had that siding that they've had issues with it. That kind of siding, if it's not done correctly, and here's the problem, that stucco, if it's done correctly, is great. The problem is most home builders in Tuscaloosa, Alabama aren't doing stucco enough to really get good at it. So they end up having issues. It's not cut back the right way. It doesn't drain. The lot doesn't drain correctly, so that synthetic stucco material absorbs moisture, which can create all kind of issues: mold, mildew, termite issues, drainage issues. Synthetic stucco, even though it's very good when done right, if you're buying a house in Tuscaloosa, I would avoid the stucco house. Even if it's done correctly, people here in Tuscaloosa aren't really used to that. So again, if you're going to have to sell in 2 years or 5 years, I would stick with the fairly cookie cutter house. Go with what people are used to here in the Tuscaloosa, Alabama area. Another couple things I wrote down. Saw an article in a magazine. I think it was in a doctor's office or something, waiting in the waiting room. And I saw an article that said, dome houses are going to be the thing of the future. And there are some dome houses in Tuscaloosa, but they're not a thing here yet. Maybe they will be. Maybe maybe it's an early trend, and maybe there's some value to getting in on it early. I just have seen trends come and go. So I would not go with a dome house in Tuscaloosa. It's too custom, it's too unique. You might love it, but the vast majority of home buyers who are buying in Tuscaloosa don't like that. We're not used to that here. So I would avoid it. Another one I wrote down on here. This is, and again, comment below. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Barn dominiums, okay? A house that's built like a barn, but instead of it having, dirt floors for a horse, they put concrete in and they make it look really good. You do your own research, but they're hard to get financing on. The banks here are not very comfortable with giving a loan to do a barn dominium. There's only 2 or 3 in town who will do it. And so when a barn dominium hits the market here, even if it's done great and people love the way it looks and it's sitting on a piece of land that people love and it's really move-in ready, it's hard to find financing on properties that are barn dominiums. So if you buy the barn dominium, just know when you go to sell it, you are narrowing down your pool of buyers who can buy it. Okay, most mortgage companies in Tuscaloosa, most banks in Tuscaloosa will not do a loan on a barn dominium. So even though people love them, and people would, hey, that's my dream home, when it comes time to actually buy it and get a loan for it, most of the buyers in the Tuscaloosa, Alabama area are not able to get that barn dominium. So when you have less buyers who can buy it, you're stuck with trying to sell the house to a very small number of people who can. So that narrows your ability to market it. That narrows your ability to negotiate when offers come in. So me personally, again, I think they're cool, but I personally would not own one. So those are a couple examples of the ultra custom or the ultra unique. Again, unique can be cool, but if it's so unique and it's so custom, again, it just narrows down the buyer pool who actually would want to buy that property. So that's number 2. And then number 3, again, with the market the way it was the last couple of years, you could get away with this one a little bit, but now that the market's kind of starting to normalize, number 3 is the odd layout, okay? If it's got an odd layout to it, if it doesn't really flow, some would even call that maybe functionally obsolete. All right, if it's just got a layout that doesn't really work for today's buyers, you want to try to avoid that house, okay? If it's been sitting on the market for a long time, there's probably a good reason why it's been sitting on the market. It means nobody wants it. All right, so even if it's a good deal, again, if you're watching this channel, you're probably thinking about moving to Tuscaloosa. You want to put yourself in a good financial situation so that if you do have to sell 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, you're putting yourself in the best situation possible. So if it's a house that's got a quirky layout and maybe the bedroom situation is not what you would like, again, I can think of one right now, a house that I went in not long ago, that all the bedrooms were on one side of the house. So there were 3 bedrooms on the left side of the house, and both of the bathrooms were on the right side of the house. There wasn't even a master bathroom. So everybody's sleeping and living on this side of the house, and to go to the bathroom, you got to go all the way to this side of the house. Again, it might work for some people, and we could all make it work. I mean, you look back to what our parents and our grandparents, the kind of houses they lived in. Good chance they were all living in a house that had one bathroom, and everybody used the same bathroom in the house. Well, that is considered functionally obsolete today. Okay, you want to have a master bathroom, where the adults can go, and then you want to have another bathroom for your guests or for kids or whoever, for them to use. So that kind of layout where all the bathrooms are on this side and all the bedrooms are on this side, that would just be considered functionally obsolete in today's market. Again, would love to hear any questions you have. Feel free to comment below. Phil Duke Jr., First Class Real Estate Capstone. Feel free to reach out. Would love to hear from you if I can help you anyway. Living in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Hope to catch you again real soon.